A cookie used to mean something simple. It was the sound of an oven door creaking open, the sweetness that filled the house, the kind of joy that didn't need a reason. Back then, a cookie was a treat made from real butter, real sugar, and care not chemistry. But that's the past. Today's grocery aisles tell a different story. Glossy bags hiding formulas built for profit, not pleasure. Beneath the colorful labels are oils that harden the heart, syrups that exhaust the body, and flavors that come from factories, not kitchens. They may taste familiar, but what's inside them would shock the people who baked them first. So you might be asking, what's still safe? Which cookies can I trust? That's exactly why we're here. In this video, we'll open 5 famous packages to uncover what they've become, and show you 2 that still hold on to the real taste of joy. Stay until the end, your next bite might thank you. 1. Oreo Double Stuff. For decades, Oreo has been the poster child of American snacking, the black and white icon that defined childhood treats, midnight cravings, and even the shape of dessert culture. Everyone knows how to twist it, dunk it, or eat it whole. That ritual became part of family memory itself. But what if the cookie that felt so familiar has quietly changed beneath the surface? Over the years, the formula has evolved more than most people realize. The early Oreos, dating back to the mid-20th century, were built on cocoa flour sugar and shortening a simple foundation that gave it that dense, bittersweet crunch. The modern Double Stuff, however, reads like a chemistry set enriched flour, sugar, palm, and soybean oils, cocoa, processed with alkali, high-fructose corn syrup, soy lecithin, and artificial flavor. 2 cookies of Oreo Double Stuff contain roughly 140 calories, 13 grams of sugar, and 7 grams of fat, most of it from refined oils, according to USDA Food Data Central 2024. However, the real shift isn't only about ingredients, it's about engineering. Food scientists understand something called the bliss point, the perfect ratio of sugar and fat that keeps the brain asking for more. Oreo perfected that balance decades ago and has held it tight ever since. Each new variant, Double Stuff, Mega Stuff, Thins, tweaks texture and sugar load just enough to stay addictive without feeling new. It's not evolution, it's calibration. By comparison, older recipes leaned on cocoa bitterness to counter the sweetness. That bitterness was flavor depth. It made the cookie feel grown up, a little serious. The new versions flatten that contrast, the filling is sweeter, the wafer milder, and the overall bite melts faster. The change might seem small, but sensory studies show even a 2 to 3% increase in sugar concentration can reduce perceived bitterness by nearly 20%. In other words, what was once a cookie with character became a cookie optimized for repeat purchase. In reality, that optimization comes with invisible costs. Excessive intake of added sugars and refined fats contributes to rising rates of insulin resistance, high triglycerides, and general metabolic strain. No single cookie is the villain, but the normalization of this everyday dessert culture makes moderation harder. When marketing calls something double stuff, it's easy to laugh, but also easy to underestimate what that double really means nutritionally. The packaging hasn't changed much. The smiling font and playful blue are still there, but the message behind them has. It no longer whispers nostalgia, it signals reliability through repetition. The very act of staying the same visually masks the constant tweaking inside. This quiet substitution of real cocoa aroma for synthetic vanillin is subtle, yet it rewires what memory associates with comfort. What used to taste roasted now tastes merely sweet. This is the betrayal of flavor, not a scandal but a slow drift away from the honest balance that made the cookie famous. Over the years, consumers have grown more health-aware, and yet the Oreo remains immune to scrutiny, protected by sentiment. We don't question it because we grew up with it. That's the power of cultural attachment, the same force that keeps the red Coca-Cola can or yellow mac and cheese box sacred in households across the country. Still, when you strip away the nostalgia and read the label line by line, you'll find no butter, no cream, no trace of milk at all. The creme that defines it isn't cream. It's sugar shortening flavored with artificial vanilla. It's clever, market safe, and shelf stable, but far from what the brand's myth suggests. In reality, Oreo Double Stuff stands as a mirror to our food system, familiar on the outside, reformulated within. And the truth is simple: for every extra layer of filling we've gained, we may have lost a little of what made it worth savoring. 2 Keebler Fudge Stripes. The design works perfectly. Golden stripes, smiling elves, the promise of fudge and fun. Keebler Fudge Stripes look like a childhood memory printed on foil. Every detail from the font to the cookie ring shape whispers indulgence. You see it on the shelf and feel safe. It looks real. It looks homemade. Then you turn the bag around. What's supposed to be fudge starts with palm kernel oil, not cocoa butter. The chocolate coating. Mostly oil sugar and flavoring a simulation of the real thing. In the food industry, that's called a compound coating. It melts faster, ships cheaper, and costs less than real chocolate. It also leaves that slick film on your tongue that true cocoa never does. A single serving, about 2 cookies, packs roughly 140 calories, 8 grams of sugar, and 6 grams of fat, nearly half of it from palm-based oils. Meanwhile, the marketing copy keeps saying made with rich fudge. The truth: the FDA defines fudge as a confection made from milk, sugar, and butter. Keebler's version contains none of those in meaningful amounts. The richness here is an illusion of texture, not recipe. Each stripe is precise, each layer designed for contrast. The surface pattern tricks the eye into believing depth and indulgence. Its packaging psychology, 101 visual density, equals perceived luxury. The engineers behind it know exactly how thick a drizzle should be to look expensive. Yet when you taste it, the sweetness hits first, then fades into a waxy aftercoating. That's the palm oil talking. It gives shape, not flavor. It's the architecture of shelf life disguised as dessert. By contrast, genuine chocolate melts at body temperature. It's why a truffle disappears instantly on your tongue. This one resists heat. It's engineered for trucks, not taste buds. The cookie itself, once buttery and crumbly, now serves as a neutral stage for that artificial coating. It's no longer about flavor harmony, just color contrast. Even the portion sizes have shrunk subtly over the years. The visual design compensates for that: more stripes, bolder fudge lines, heavier print weight. Consumers feel they're getting the same richness, when in fact the total chocolate content per cookie is dropped. That's marketing precision at its peak: decrease substance, amplify image. You might think this is nitpicking, it's still a cookie after all. But this pattern matters. When the visual promise doesn't match the sensory truth, it shapes habits. People learn to equate sweetness with joy, gloss with quality, and imitation with nostalgia. That's how processed snacks survive decades, by training recognition faster than awareness. Meanwhile, parents still buy these for kids, thinking they're close enough to homemade fudge rings. The brand loyalty passes down generations untouched by reformulations or fine print. The elves never age, the colors never dull, and the copy never changes. Only the content does. This is the sweetness of disguise, a perfect metaphor for modern snacking. The product that looks handcrafted but is entirely industrial. The bite that feels familiar but comes from machines, not kitchens. Ultimately, that's the irony: the brand built on childhood fantasy now thrives on adult complacency. We see the smiling elves, we smile back, and we don't read the rest. The magic stayed on the wrapper. The flavor didn't. Tres Chips Ahoy Original. The story of Chips Ahoy begins like many American classics, with a smile, a slogan, and a promise that happiness could be sealed inside a blue bag. When it first appeared on grocery shelves in the early 1960s, it was marketed as a modern miracle, a store-bought cookie that could taste as fresh as homemade. Housewives were told they could skip the oven, save the effort, and still offer their families the same buttery reward. It wasn't just a product. It was convenience you could taste. In those early years, the recipe stayed humble. Flour, sugar, real chocolate chip shortening, and a hint of leavening to keep the texture light. People remembered the smell: toasted flour, melting chocolate, a whisper of brown sugar. It felt honest. Chips Ahoy was the dependable cookie, always there for lunchboxes and road trips. It embodied the optimism of the supermarket era: more comfort, less time. However, those same values soon worked against it. As production scaled and costs tightened, the recipe lost its simplicity. Butter gave way to vegetable oil. Then came high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavors, and stabilizers with names few could pronounce. Each change made it cheaper to store, easier to ship, and harder to spoil, but also harder to love. Today's Chips Ahoy Original lists ingredients such as enriched flour, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, palm oil, and artificial flavor. A 3-cookie serving delivers about 160 calories, 10 to 11 grams of sugar, and 8 grams of fat, according to Mondelez Nutrition Facts, 2024. Over time, the cookie's identity softened. The crunch became uniform. the chips smaller, less melty. The chocolate itself reformulated with emulsifiers that survive transport. Even the aroma changed, real vanilla replaced by vanillin, a cheaper echo of the same scent. By comparison, homemade chocolate chip cookies still use 5 or 6 ingredients, not 15. Their sugar caramelizes naturally, their chocolate bleeds unevenly, their flavor lingers. They can't last for months on a shelf, but they don't need to. That's the trade-off between craftsmanship and control. Yet nostalgia is persuasive. The blue bag looks the same, the logo still smiles, the swirl of falling chips still implies warmth. That image convinces us the cookie hasn't changed. The memory fills the gaps the recipe left behind. However, when you open a new pack, the truth greets you quietly. The scent is thinner, the bite firmer, the sweetness flatter. None of it bad, yet none of it real. The cookie hasn't failed us, it has simply adapted. This is the crumble of memory, subtle, slow, and strangely polite. By comparison, newer, clean-label cookie brands now boast of real butter and short ingredient lists, reclaiming the trust that industrial baking lost. And in an odd way, Chips Ahoy made that nostalgia possible. It created the very standard it can no longer meet. In the end, Chips Ahoy tells a simple story: when progress replaces patience, taste fades before we even notice. That isn't tragedy or betrayal, just the quiet observation of how time edits flavor while the packaging stays the same. 4 Pepperidge Farm Soft Baked. When I was a kid, opening a Pepperidge Farm bag felt like unwrapping something earned. The cookies inside looked imperfect, in the best way: uneven chips, soft texture, that gentle scent of butter and sugar. They weren't just store-bought, they were a bridge between the kitchen and the supermarket. My mother used to call them fancy cookies, the kind you'd serve when company came over. Back then, it really did feel like a small luxury. Years later, that same name sits on every grocery shelf: soft-baked Montauk Nantucket Sausalito, elegant words wrapped in coastal nostalgia. The packaging still whispers crafted, but the flavor tells another story. An expert in food formulation once said, "When a brand is bought by a larger corporation, the recipe starts traveling faster than the baker ever could." Pepperidge Farm began as a small Connecticut bakery. Then came the Campbell Soup Company, a change in ownership, and inevitably a change in recipe. The Montauk Soft-Baked Milk Chocolate Chunk Cookies now list enriched flour, brown sugar, fructose, vegetable oils from palm and hydrogenated soybean corn syrup solids, butter, eggs, and natural flavors. Each cookie averages 130 calories, 7 grams of sugar, and 5 grams of fat. Source: Campbell's Nutrition Facts, 2024. However, the soft-baked texture isn't the result of tenderness, it's the result of control. Humectants and corn syrup solids hold moisture inside, keeping the cookie soft for weeks. The chew feels pleasant yet strangely uniform. It's not the warmth of butter, it's the precision of chemistry. Over the years, the brand learned to sell emotions better than ingredients. The ads no longer focus on what's in the dough, but on what's in your memory fireplaces: laughter, the comfort of home. You don't buy Pepperidge Farm because you need cookies. You buy it because you want reassurance. By contrast, when Margaret Rudkin founded the company in 1937, her cookies contained no artificial additives at all. That purity was the reason for her fame. But expansion demanded durability. Ingredient lists lengthened, sweetness deepened, and that once proud baked-at-home charm dissolved into uniform sweetness. In reality, that's the cycle of comfort brands. They begin with sincerity and end with simulation. The blue bag still hums the same melody, but now it's background music, recognizable, safe, a little hollow. This is the warmth that faded, not lost, just lowered to a gentle hum. Over the years, new artisan brands have risen, promising real butter and hand-stirred dough. They may not last long on shelves, but they last longer in memory. They remind people what Pepperidge Farm once represented: patience, not process. By contrast, the corporate cookie survives on predictability. Its formula never risks surprise. Its softness is stable, its sweetness reliable. And that, ironically, is what keeps it selling. In reality, nostalgia is a form of loyalty, and loyalty rarely checks the label. Looking ahead, the brand will remain exactly where it wants to be, halfway between homemade and mass-made comfort and convenience. It will keep selling the promise of warmth, even if the heat now comes from marketing, not ovens. That's the quiet outlook. Pepperidge Farm will always taste familiar, but familiarity isn't the same as flavor. Some warmth endures, but the rest keeps fading softly into history. 5. Great value, health halo. For the last one, let's see the numbers come first. A single sugar-free cookie under the Great Value label carries about 90 calories, 4 grams of fat, and 8 grams of carbohydrates, even with 0G sugar stamped in bold on the front. The secret sugar alcohols, maltitol, sorbitol. Words that sound medical, not sweet, yet they taste like both. A serving of Great Value sugar-free frosted oatmeal cookies lists maltitol sucralose and hydrogenated palm oil among its first ingredients, according to Walmart Nutrition Facts 2024. At first glance, it looks healthier, lighter, packaging muted colors, tidy fonts, and labels like Smart Choice and no sugar added. It feels moral. It feels safe, but it isn't. However, sugar-free doesn't mean low-calorie. It doesn't mean risk-free. Under FDA rules, that phrase only guarantees less than half a gram of added sugar per serving. Sugar alcohols aren't counted even though the body still processes them as carbs. They can raise insulin. They can bloat the gut. In large amounts, they act like laxatives. Meanwhile, palm oil gives crispness and shine standing where butter used to be. It's cheap, steady, and everywhere. Sucralose adds the punch, 600 times sweeter than sugar born from a lab, not a cane. By contrast, the box still shows oat flakes, wooden spoons, a halo of natural light. It doesn't lie, it suggests. That's the point. Health Halo packaging sells comfort through half-truths and familiar colors. Each bite confirms it. The sweetness lands late, the texture thin and slick. The flavor isn't wrong, just artificial, pleasant enough to repeat, not rich enough to satisfy. People buy more chasing a feeling of restraint. In truth, this isn't a failure of baking. It's a triumph of language. Free has become permission. The term lowers guilt, not calories. Nutrition experts call it compensation bias, when eating something healthy leads you to eat more of it. The word protects appetite better than awareness ever could. This is the sugar-free mirage, a reflection of wellness projected onto an engineered treat. Meanwhile, the industry smiles. The loopholes stay open. The consumers keep believing. And the cycle keeps feeding itself quietly, one healthy bite at a time. To stay genuinely aware, it helps to remember a few simple truths. Sugar-free doesn't mean calorie-free, and sugar alcohols such as maltitol, sorbitol, and sucralose still affect how the body processes energy. The palm and hydrogenated oils used in these cookies merely stand in for real fats, altering texture more than nutrition. The calm colors and health-style packaging don't guarantee anything wholesome, they only suggest it. And above all, the fine print always tells the real story. The front label is just the headline. That's the real takeaway. No slogans, no illusions. Just facts worth checking before the next box ends up in your cart. After walking through all these aisles of shortcuts and shiny illusions, it's easy to feel disheartened. But food, like people, can change for the better when there's awareness behind it. The good news is that not every cookie is built on compromise. Some brands still chase honesty over marketing, quality over convenience. In the next part, we'll leave the noise of false promises behind and turn to the shelves where simplicity still lives, where ingredients are short, flavors are clean, and the joy of real baking hasn't disappeared. 6 Simple Mills almond flour cookies. Sometimes a product doesn't need a story, it just needs to make sense. That's what Simple Mills has built its name on. No mascots, no exaggerated slogans, no cinematic ads filled with slow-motion chocolate drizzle. Just a small white box with an ingredient list short enough to memorize. When you open one of their almond flour cookies, there's no artificial aroma, no rush of engineered sweetness. It tastes exactly as the box suggests: clean, calm, and real. The first thing that stands out is how little there is. Almond flour, coconut sugar, organic coconut oil, arrowroot, baking soda, sea salt. 6 ingredients, each one recognizable, none pretending to be something else. That brevity isn't just a marketing trick, it's a manifesto. Each serving of Simple Mills crunchy chocolate chip cookies provides about 150 calories, 8 grams of fat, 7 grams of sugar, and 2 grams of protein, all from simple whole ingredients without gums fillers or flavor enhancers. Source: Simple Mills. Nutrition Facts 2024. In a world where the average cookie label reads like a paragraph of chemistry, Simple Mills writes poetry. The design mirrors the formula: neutral tones, airy spacing, and a modest photograph that looks more like a home snapshot than a commercial shoot. There's no glitter, no glow, just honesty dressed in white. However, simplicity doesn't mean absence. The almond flour gives body a slow, earthy nuttiness that lingers quietly. Coconut sugar adds sweetness that feels human, not mechanical. The texture is firm yet delicate, breaking cleanly without the greasy crumble found in mass-market cookies. Each bite feels complete, and that's rare. By contrast, the typical healthy cookie takes shortcuts. Artificial sweeteners, emulsifiers, processed starches, the tools of compromise. They're built to imitate health while preserving shelf life. Simple Mills rejects all of that. Their philosophy isn't about replication, it's about reduction. Take away what isn't needed and what remains becomes enough. In practice, that restraint gives the brand its credibility. It appeals equally to two audiences: the wellness-minded shopper scanning labels and the everyday consumer who just wants food that tastes normal again. Dietitians often describe Simple Mills as the middle ground indulgence without the guilt, discipline without the punishment. It's what happens when nutrition and nostalgia find a quiet peace. Founder Catlin Smith said it best: she wanted to make food that feels like food again. It's not a grand slogan, but it's quietly revolutionary. Because most brands are obsessed with adding more protein, more fiber, more flavor. Simple Mills subtracts. It reminds us that addition isn't the same as improvement. Of course, there are limits. A box costs more than its mainstream rivals. The texture may seem dry to those used to processed oils, and the shelf life is shorter. But that's the price of honesty, a product that's made to be eaten, not stored. The lack of preservatives is a design choice, not a flaw. This is the quiet strength of simplicity, steady, deliberate, and enduring. It doesn't grab attention, it earns it. By contrast, other clean brands often shout purity through buzzwords: paleo-friendly, non-GMO, gluten-free, certified. Simple Mills includes those too, but as footnotes. The brand lets its recipe do the talking. Over time, that consistency becomes its identity: calm, confident, and quietly persuasive. In practice, that kind of reliability builds trust in a way marketing can't. You buy it once it tastes right, and you buy it again. That's not brand loyalty. That's respect earned through repetition. In the end, Simple Mills shows that minimalism in food isn't about what's missing, it's about what remains. Fewer ingredients mean fewer excuses. Fewer additives mean fewer doubts. It's a system built on restraint, not performance. 7 Hu grain-free cookies. For years, we've been told that grain-free means healthy. The word itself sounds pure, stripped of starch, free from filler, closer to nature. It's a comforting label for a complicated world. But in truth, grain-free doesn't always mean better for you. Hu Kitchen, now simply Hu, built its identity on that belief. Founded in New York by siblings Jordan and Jessica Brown alongside Jason H. Karp, the brand rose from a small cafe into a movement. Their idea was simple: get back to human. Chocolate without emulsifiers, snacks without refined sugar, cookies without grains, a return to balance through design, taste, and restraint. At first glance, the promise feels genuine. Almond flour, coconut sugar, cassava flour, coconut oil, sea salt. No dairy, no soy, no preservatives, no tricks. A serving of Hu grain-free chocolate chip cookies, about 6 pieces, contains 170 calories, 12 grams of fat, and 7 grams of sugar, all from coconut sugar and almond flour without emulsifiers or starches. The numbers tell part of the truth. The rest lies in proportion. Grain-free doesn't erase fat. It only changes its form. Almond flour and coconut oil bring nutrients but also density. They shift calories sideways, not down. However, that's not deception. It's precision. Hu's formulas aim for digestion, not dieting. Less inflammation, fewer additives, cleaner digestion. Nutritionists call it functional minimalism, food built around purpose, not performance. By contrast, most supermarket cookies chase sugar highs. They rely on artificial flavors and hydrogenated oils to create drama. Hu does the opposite. The packaging speaks softly, matte beige, lowercase lettering, quiet confidence. It's branding designed to exhale. Meanwhile, their customers echo that calm. Review sections read like collective relief. Finally, a cookie that doesn't crash my stomach. It's not too sweet. It feels real. The praise sounds personal, almost grateful. Because in a food system built on extremes, moderation feels radical. Still, experts remind us to stay measured. As one dietitian notes, feeling clean doesn't always equal eating clean. It's a small truth with big consequence. Wellness isn't in the label, it's in the behavior. Yet Hu holds its ground. Its ingredient list is short, its claims consistent, its recipes transparent. Each bite has integrity, a crisp edge, a balanced texture, a flavor that finishes without residue. It's not showy, it's steady. This is the clean crunch of honesty, the sound of a brand standing by its word. By contrast, many clean competitors sell purity but hide behind loopholes. Who for now walks straight, no shortcuts, no hidden syrups, no double language. Just a cookie made the way its label promises. In the end, Who doesn't debunk the myth, it reframes it. Grain-free isn't salvation. It's discipline. The cookies don't promise less, they promise clarity. That in itself is rare. So ask yourself, when you pick up something labeled grain-free, are you seeking nutrition or seeking permission? Across every shelf, the lesson stays the same: ingredients tell the truth even when packaging doesn't. So before your next grocery trip, take 2 small actions. First, turn every box around. Read the fine print. Don't let slogans decide what you eat. Then when you find a product that feels honest, reward it. Buy it again. Talk about it. Let real food win through consistency, not convenience. Every small act of awareness adds up. Each better choice strengthens the market for brands that actually care, the ones that keep ingredients short and promises real. The world doesn't need another perfect cookie. It needs more conscious shoppers who know how to choose. Change doesn't start in factories or boardrooms. It starts in the aisle, with you standing between 2 packages and choosing the one that means something.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.